Hello Ratbags, it's Jade. Welcome to the home survival. The last 5 years I've covered every survival game under the sun. I've somehow managed to amass 50 million views talking about survival games coming to the Xbox, the PlayStation and PC. As we continue with next gen and the future, I'm going to carry on delivering you guys the info you need to know about new releases, guides and tips when they do release, and my thoughts and opinions about the game and the updates they may receive after. But there are always new games on the horizon. What are my most 10 hyped, exciting games I'm looking forward to? We've got some big hitters that you may heard of. We've got some small little indie games that you may never have. These are my most 10 hyped survival games that will be hopefully coming in 2021 or 2022. It's not to say I'm not excited about some other games. There's a huge long list of other games that I'm excited for as well. But these 10 are a bit more way off, and I think they're a little bit more different, and I think they offer something a little bit more fresh. And that's what I'm looking for going forward. 3,500 videos later on YouTube covering survival. I really want to deliver content to you that I'm really excited to play, and so I'm desperately hoping that these games will be the future of survival. Let me know in the comments what you think about survival going forward. What do you want to see most improve? What kind of game do you want to see in the future? And what are you most excited about out of my little list? And is there any others I should have maybe put down? Don't forget to give me a follow on Twitter. Go and check my Discord out. There's timestamps there for the impatient. Let's go. 10 most hyped survival games of the future. So a few months ago you may have seen Icarus pop up out of nowhere. This is going to be a PvE focused survival game, but with a difference. Imagine a Tarkov experience where there's maybe a timer or instances where you have to go down, grab resources and get out of the planet atmosphere before shit goes south. Maybe there's some mad storms, maybe it's just down to your oxygen levels getting low, but you have to escape with all of your resources. That's what Dean Hall, yes, the creator of DayZ, is promising or trying to deliver with Icarus. Originally announced as going to be free to play and coming out in 2021. Dean Hall and his company Rocketworks look to be leveraging all of that experience, as well as getting some fresh new blood as they've gone on a drive to recruit more devs to New Zealand to carry on working on the game. They're pretty confident that they're going to have something that the community will like and enjoy, and they want to get them involved as much as possible. So can they make it compelling? Can they make a PvE experience something as fun or interesting to watch as something like Tarkov? Who knows, but I'm definitely excited for this. I love the idea of something new, something fresh, and if they've got that kind of instant zones, I think it could go down pretty well. We've seen in other games, and they even use it as reference, Deep Rock Galactic's pretty cool for that way that you jump onto planets, you mine it, you fight off against the enemies, and then you escape. But obviously Icarus is going to have its own proper survival slant on it, with worrying about oxygen and obviously weather effects and all sorts of other dangers that maybe aren't as there for Deep Rock Galactic. So yeah, obviously that's the comparison I'm going to make because it's just quick and easy. I'm sure it'll be its own thing. I've got a bit of confidence in Dino. I think he needs to make this game the big one, the big moment for him. He hasn't had that moment really since DayZ, and that's a good few years ago. He obviously left the company, Bohemia, to start up Rocketworks, and this will be one of their big major new things. So they're putting a lot of time, a lot of money into it, and I hope it does succeed in the future. Outpost Glacier is a nice little independent game being made on the itch.io site, and it is going to be coming to Steam as well. It looks like it's going to be a co-op focused game, multiplayer, possibly maybe having servers in the future, but at the moment it's about you surviving in the cold, chilly winds and snows. But you will be doing it with your friends, and you will be connecting power up. A little bit more like an Astroneer, even Satisfactory style survival game, where you're going to be using a lot of technology like generators, electricity, power and crafting, all that stuff all tied together in a unique system to keep you basically warm while you fight off some of the creatures that will try and maybe disrupt you or stop you from gathering the resources you need. They're currently really going ham at developing that, updating the game regularly. You can go and check out their Discord and keep up to date, and even try it out on the .itch.io site as well. They've got plans to add more exploration, lots of locations to go deeper into their story, as well as puzzle elements, and there's going to be lots of customization and lots of crafting. I absolutely love Satisfactory, but it doesn't really blend very well with the elements of creatures, and they kind of just become a bit of an annoyance rather than a danger. It is more of a crafting and a simulation game. So if Outpost Glacier can marriage that together, where you've got some danger from animals and creatures, as well as that ability to make your own custom bases with power and connections and stuff, and still keep it interesting, I think it will be onto a winner, and hopefully we're going to see a proper early access release on Steam in 2021. I'm really hopeful that State of Decay 3 really draws me in. I should have been a big fan of the first two games, but I could never get my teeth into it as much. I'm hoping that the cinematic trailer is indicative of you being a bit more on your own, not having to worry too much more about as many of community members and what they can do for you. I love the idea that you're going to be in a snowy filled forest fighting all sorts of monsters, not just the wolves, but of course the zombified deer as well. I'm really hopeful that it's going to be a proper online game and we'll have actual servers where we can have more people. Doesn't necessarily have to be PvP. Maybe if they do have the follower system in there still, the community members, you can trade them off against with other players. That could be something they could look into. State of Decay just didn't go far enough in its sequel from the original. It didn't have enough new systems or enough polish to make it look like a proper next gen game. So let's hope in this third attempt on the next series of consoles really will be that big leap that a lot of players are crying out for. State of Decay's got so many great little systems, it's got big choice and wide variety in the zombies, and all the missions and the structures of it is something that I'm always asking other survival games to do. So if they can just get that balance and blend right, I'm going to be all over this when it launches. I just do hope it's going to be a bit more multiplayer. I do hope there's going to be lots and lots of ways to play rather than just being someone that holds community members. So it seems like at least once a year we get a brand new zombie realistic simulation game that may be the answer to being the best game since DayZ. I mean, it's not that hard, the bar's not that high really. DayZ was great for its time, but I don't think it's aged particularly well, and development on that game has kind of stalled a lot this year. So there's plenty of room for new up and comers. We've had Scum, we've had Deadside, but now we've got Dead Matter. It's just gone into its alpha. There's been thousands of players playing it because they've backed it through crowdfunding, and yes, I was pretty excited about this. In fact, I would probably put this just about in my top 3 at one point, but since I have seen a little bit reaction to the alpha and stuff, I think I've been tempered a little bit in realising that just like many of them other games I mentioned, they're going to have issues. It's going to be a while before Dead Matter is maybe in a really good state. Of course, it's early access when it eventually does come out in 2021, and I'm not expecting it to be a super polished product, but I'm still not seeing anything just yet that makes it miles and heads above games like Scum and DayZ. Don't get me wrong, the ballistics look great, the gun looks great, the game looks fantastic, but it still needs to be played a lot more. I have got access to it, but I can't really talk about it, and I've not really played it to be honest, but I am delving into this hopefully in the next few months, and I'll be ready and primed when it hits early access, hopefully at the beginning of 2021. I can foresee this being delayed a little bit though. I reckon it'll take a lot of alpha feedback to polish it even more before they even think about releasing it in early access proper. As we've seen with games like Scum, you can generate a lot of interest and then your game just dies and no one is playing your game for another 2 years. So they really probably want to make sure that Dead Matter has got all the components to keep the player base playing it for much longer. But they're promising lots of variations in the zombies. There are lots of different ways that you'll be able to fortify your bases, as well as make some small freestanding fortifications. There's a whole huge amount of different guns and weapons, and so it's really exciting. The landscape is probably one of the most appealing to me, based in sort of Canada areas, and there's going to be sort of 2 variations, and they're working massively on the towns and making it super realistic. With driving as well, only in first person. That did put a cat amongst the pigeons recently, but it's definitely looking like Dead Matter is going to be one of the biggest games if it does come out in 2021. You know, I'm pretty old. I struggle to remember what I had for breakfast yesterday, let alone survival games that first got announced in 2014, but that's the case with Wild. Now this game is actually still in development, supposedly. Take that with a pinch of salt because many things can change. But first revealed as an Ubisoft game in 2014, meant to be a PlayStation exclusive, we didn't hear much, only maybe a few more trailers and some gameplay from the devs explaining some of the systems a year later, but since then it's been pretty quiet. In fact, so quiet a lot of people assumed the game had just been cancelled. But in April this year, some brand new art appeared, some concept art showing off the game, some of the characters, the landscapes, and a giant massive bear. So could this game, where you are reportedly able to transform yourself into a wolf, a bear, even a fish, as well as play online with other players, could it still be worked on? Well, I was hopeful, as I said, after seeing that news and info about these screenshots in April, but recent developments may have put a bit of a cloud on it. The original creator, or guy that made this game, has left Ubisoft under a dark cloud. He's one of the original guys that made Rayman as well as Beyond Good and Evil. He suddenly quit because he was being investigated for toxic workplace environment. Yes, he's one of them dudes. So, fingers crossed though. As he departed, in his statement he said this game and Beyond Good and Evil 2 were both in good hands, so hopefully we will see a release date for Wild finally, but you can bet it's probably only going to be on the PS5 in 2020. So, there's this game. It's about blocks. You can craft them, you can mine them, and you've got to defend yourself against zombies. Hear me out, it could be potentially pretty good. Now, what if you took that game and you refined it and made it more of a role-playing game? What if you made it more of an online MMO? What if you added loads of creator tools that you can make your own mini movies inside it? So of course I'm not talking about Minecraft 2, but all intents purposes that's what Hytale is really trying to be. 57 million views on its reveal trailer from back in 2018 December, so it's coming up to nearly 2 years, and developers have been pretty busy in that time, showcasing all their progress with their development, all the systems that will be in play, lots of concept art and GIFs and little videos, and they got picked up by Riot Games. Yes, the League of Legends makers and of course Big Daddy Tencent are now putting their money behind Hytale, so it definitely looks like progress is going to ramp up, and they've just decided that they're actually going to go a little bit more quiet on social media because they're getting to the stage now where they really want to keep a lot of their systems and some of the stuff that's coming a little bit more secret, so it's more of a surprise. But all year they've been pretty solid with their dev vlogs, so I'm pretty confident in this game being made. I'm pretty hopeful it will see a early access release in 2021. With all that money behind it now from Tencent, I can't see any reason why it's going to fail. The original creators of the Hypixel servers are of course behind Hytale, so they've got lots of experience in making multiplayer servers and online server eccentric games. Let's just hope it marries together that Minecraft feel with their RPG balance that they want. It may be a bit more of an open world RPG game than survival, but you know, I'm slipped it in there because I'm pretty hyped for this too. So over a year and a half ago, in March 2019, I showcased a game called Towers. Now this trailer was not just a tech demo, although it kind of is. It shows a lot of the gameplay. That's why it was according to the devs, who I got some questions answered when I emailed them. It's pretty exciting. It's like a big mix between a Studio Ghibli style, and then you've got stuff like Viva Pinata, taming creatures, and it's very different type of survival. You're not out there to dominate others like in Ark or Conan. This one's all about being in synergy. You've got to create an environment that creatures will come to live with you and you can utilize them, and the whole purpose is these towers. It's almost like a building simulation game in that respect. You'll be encouraging the wildlife to grow, the fauna to rise up, and you will be having some danger as well. There is an element where you're going to have to protect yourself against creatures and enemies in the game, and so it's all about helping each other as players on a massive scale. It's going to be lots of players on a server. It isn't a single player game or a co-op game. They've said you may even be able to rent your own servers. Now things had gone pretty quiet. 3-4 months after the release of the trailer, it obviously got a bit hyped and they were looking for investors, but since then, since the start of the year, they've not really said too much. I dug around though and I looked onto their Discord, and it was only a couple months ago they updated their FAQs. They assure people they're still working on the game, and it's only in the last couple of weeks I've seen some stuff on Reddit from the artists saying that they are definitely still working on this game. In fact, they're working harder than ever, so I'm hopeful that we'll start to see the fruits of their labours. I'm really hopeful that they've got the funding they needed and we can start seeing some info about this possibly coming to early access next year. As I said, not a PvP focused game, but still got an element of danger, still got an element of challenge, and you're going to need other players to help you to get a win condition. So very, very different. You can see the classic taming, riding creatures there as well. Big ones like Monster Hunter, as well as the smaller ones like a donkey style character, and all the usual crafting, gathering, cooking, all that kind of stuff. As I said from the start of this video, I'm really looking for something different. I kind of am just a little burned out on a lot of the survival games I've covered over the last couple of years, because so many are quite similar, or it's just the same old, same old. So I really am hopeful this is going to be something special, something new and a breath of fresh air. So I will be there for every step of the way that we get any info about towers. With the absolutely mega success of Grounded, yes, it sold millions of copies as well as being played by even more because of Games Pass and doing pretty well for itself on Steam as well. There is a renewed interest in games that offer a different perspective on survival. Smalland, as I've reported a couple of times now, was actually in development as an idea before Grounded even was a thing. It had some problems and issues with its original development team. Eventually, the IP and the ideas got bought out by a reputable British publisher. They've now taken on the development duties themselves. The old team are not involved and they're pushing forward, much to my surprise, at a rapid pace. We could see a good big rival for Grounded in the future, more along the lines of Ark Survival Evolved though, with actual proper servers where survival will go along seasons and there'll be a wide variety of choices in terms of how you play the game a little bit more. Maybe not as story focused or mission focused, more just about that open world sandbox experience you're probably used to playing games like Ark and Conan. You're going to be able to ride a whole big choice of different creatures, crickets, birds, rodents, as well as some more bugs, and you've got to keep that ecosystem in place, very much like Grounded. That's going to be the order of the day. They've not ruled out PvP completely just yet either, so it's very interesting where Smallands could be, and I'm going to be all over it, showcasing it. I think we're going to see a lot more info at the start of 2021, and I'm really hopeful we'll see some sort of early access towards the middle or end of the year. But for sure, it's good to see something else alongside Grounded as offering a smaller slice of survival. Take Monster Hunter. You mix that in with a bit of Zelda, then go ahead and sprinkle on some survival and you may just about come out with Little Devil Inside. Scheduled for release on PlayStation 4 and 5 in 2021. It will then be making its way to Xbox and Nintendo Switch. Oh yeah, it will be on PC at the same time as PlayStation as well. Originally starting life in 2015, backed by Kickstarter, these South Korean developers have been working on this game a long time. It's picked up some steam, it's obviously got some further investment and enough that they could take their time with it and polish the game to make it what it is now. Like I said, a bit of a mix. You go out there, you're hunting wild creatures and these monsters, finding out information about them, and in that way you'll be doing a lot of parkouring, a little bit of exploration, using a variety of different tools and travel methods to get across big landscapes, and then taking your reports and your findings back to your HQ and pretty much giving your boss the lowdown. Looks like it's got a bit of comedic element to it as well, a little bit light-hearted, and of course it's still going to have that survival element. You're going to need to eat and drink as you explore these worlds running around. The monsters look great. We've seen quite an extended gameplay footage in the last 9 months or so I'm hopeful we're going to see more news about this towards the early part of 2021. I think originally they were scheduling it for the end of this year, but I reckon they have pushed it back now due to the current situation going around the world. A little bit more artsy than some of the other more realistic games you're used to, but I love stuff like this. I really can't wait to play this, hence why it's number 2 on my most hyped list. 2 years running, The Forest has been my number 1 survival game. Yep, that's right. On console, it is absolutely the best survival game in my opinion, and nothing else has really managed to dismantle that. Now, when I say console, I guess I really do mean the PlayStation. For a while, the devs seems like they said they would be thinking about bringing The Forest to other platforms in the future, and they went pretty quiet and silent. And apart from one game update that hit The Forest on the PS4 and PC at pretty much the same time, nothing has been said in about 18 months now since it pretty much came out. So yeah, you could probably forget The Forest ever coming to the Xbox. But the sequel is definitely a big thing, and I'm really hoping they get it out on all platforms this time. And so absolutely, there's only one game that can maybe topple that as the best survival possibly. Sons of the Forest could really be the one. I am really hyped for this game. I think out of all the survival games that could potentially be coming next year, this is the one I'm most intrigued and excited for. And maybe that's because we've received not one single bit of extra information since they revealed the trailer at the Game Awards last November. Yep, it's coming up to a year without one tiny bit of info coming from developers of The Forest and Sons of the Forest. Spoilers, we know it's Timmy, he's coming back. It seems to be the dude with the tattoo. He's all grown up right now, and we're seeing some returns of our favourite mutants, humping some rocks. But what else is in store? Is it still going to be just a co-op multiplayer game? Are they expanding it? Are they adding even more story elements? Could it be going down the route of a more Resident Evil style game? Or is it going to retain a lot of the survival sandbox elements? We just don't know, but it does look absolutely gorgeous and I can't wait to get my hands on it. The Forest was digitally in the top 10 of sold games in Europe last year. That's how popular it was, beating the likes of Ark, Conan and so many more. Even DayZ on its release last year, The Forest was more popular. So I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys are just as hyped for me to see eventually some news about Sons of the Forest and hopefully coming out in 2021. So there you go guys, my most hyped survival games of the next generation or in the future. Hopefully I'll be covering these in the years to come and I'll always keep you guys in the loop. If you want to support the channel a little bit extra, consider becoming a member of the Ratbag clan. Until next time, laters.